Hello, welcome. I'm so glad you're here. This is video one of the Whole Body Communicator mini course. This first video is Let Your Body Talk, a lesson on listening to your soma. So first things first, hi, that's me. I'm Blaze. I am the founder of Weeping Willow Wellness. I am a somatic practitioner and coach, a Reiki healer, a yoga teacher, among many other things, a parent, an animal enthusiast, an artist. I have studied communication in so many different contexts for pretty much my whole life. I've also studied healing in many different facets, pretty much my whole life. Among those, I've studied trauma, I've studied breathwork, polyvagal theory, internal family systems, somatic cognitive behavioral therapy, DIR floor time method, suicide prevention and crisis response, and dozens of movement modalities, which I bring into my somatic work. Why does any of this matter? Because after decades of studying people, studying communication, studying trauma, and healing, I've created the Whole Body Communicator method, which draws from all of that, and I'm giving it to you now, the basic framework of it in this three-part mini course. The Whole Body Communicator approach focuses on healing your communication and trauma from three places. First, healing your communication with your body. Second, healing your communication with yourself. And third, then healing your communication with others. And I have seen this method completely change how people are approaching their lives and creating transformation in their lives and their relationships. I am so excited about it. And because it is a three-pronged approach, I've broken down the course into three simple videos. So make sure you're starting here and make sure you watch all three to get the full program, the full format. We have so many polls for our time and attention, so I'm really glad that you are here, and I hope that you're able to learn something new or learn something old in a new way, perhaps. You are probably here because maybe you're struggling with communication with a loved one. Maybe you're struggling with patience. Maybe you're struggling to feel a sense of safety and relaxation and health in your body. Maybe you're struggling with chronic pain or a narrative that you're telling yourself that's not working. We all carry pain in our lives, and something that you're experiencing is not working. And you may have already tried talk therapy, you may have tried some self-help books, maybe some solo practices, and so far you're still looking for more support. And I'm so glad that you found this video because I really believe that this method is going to help you. I believe that true healing happens in the body because we live life in our bodies. And so if we're only approaching our healing top down, right, like discussion down, narrative, brain understanding down, we're not really getting it. We're not really addressing where trauma lives and where our physical lived experience lives, which is in our bodies. So many of us are so numbed out and disconnected from our physical sensations that we don't even know what we need to feel better. And so that's why Whole Body Communicator starts there. We start with being able to heal the two-way listening relationship and communication with our bodies first. So that instead of just living our lives in patterns of reactivity to whatever's happening around us, we're living our lives from a safe and soothed place with ourselves first, with our bodies. In order to truly understand what's going on with our emotional world, our reactions, how we navigate life, we have to have that baseline with our bodies first. And so that's where we're starting. Please keep in mind that this is a highly condensed program. These three videos are super short just to scratch the surface and pique your curiosity so that you can go ahead with further study on your own, or better yet, dive into one-on-one work with me. In this course, you're going to learn about your nervous system, how it gets dysregulated, and how this prevents important biofeedback. And we will close out with a practice for you to begin trying at home so you can launch right into healing. So, what is the nervous system? Let's start there. The nervous system includes your brain, spinal cord, and a complex network of nerves throughout your entire body. For the purposes of this lecture, we will be focusing on the autonomic nervous system, which regulates heart rate, breathing, digestion. The autonomic nervous system has two parts, the sympathetic nervous system and the parasympathetic nervous system. Sympathetic responds to stimuli, helping us to handle the circumstances of our lives. The parasympathetic nervous system helps to down-regulate the body's systems that operate at peak functionality during rest. So think about your immune system, your digestive system. My kiddo and I often joke about, oh, I got rest and digest after you've had a big meal, that food coma that washes over you, that's your nervous system down regulating so that your digestion can happen really, really well and you can get the most nutrients out of your food. So, within our nervous system response, we have something called a window of tolerance. As you're going through your day, your nervous system naturally activates and down regulates, moving from sympathetic activation to parasympathetic restful state. So, I made this little drawing. The green lines are the window of tolerance. And then we have this little pink squiggle in the middle that is a regulated state. So a healthy nervous system perceives environmental cues and sets of physical responses appropriately, moving fluidly between states of arousal and downregulation. And we think of a regulated state, you're staying in that window of tolerance. So you're having an activated response and a restful response multiple times throughout the day, but you're in your window of tolerance. You're still good. Like, for example, you might be driving your car, see a squirrel run out in front, maybe you slam on the brake, you're activated. Ooh, a little bit of cortisol hormone, a little bit of activation, and the squirrel's gone. It's all good. You keep driving. You downregulate, you swallow, you take a breath, your nervous system brings you back to that little squiggle of homeostasis. Now, some of us, because of trauma, can have our window of tolerance actually become super narrow and we can have an increased number of triggers or more extreme trigger response. So for example, with our squirrel analogy, if you had some car trauma, you'd been in some serious car accidents or maybe some animal trauma, like, I don't know, you can use your imagination. I don't want to trigger anyone right now with any vivid stories, but if you had some trauma relating to animals and cars or just car accidents in general, that sensation of braking for the squirrel might be enough to trigger you way out of your window of tolerance into a state of fight flight where your heart is pounding and you're feeling like way more revved up than you need to be for that moment. You also could have a collapse response, a freeze, fawn response. We think of like deer in the headlight or freezing. So you brake for the squirrel, but instead of being able to continue on wherever you were going, you're just kind of frozen there. Like you just don't know what to do next and your brain's kind of glitching. um, so that would be a way that your window of tolerance is smaller or your trigger responses are larger. Chronic dysregulation happens when our body regularly, chronically, or consistently loses the ability to move fluidly between the appropriate states of arousal. So humans are really, really adaptable, right? And because of that incredible nature, we learn to survive in insane conditions. There's so many historical examples. We think of like prisoners of war, learning to survive in completely inhuman conditions. Or we think of some of, even people having their own adverse childhood conditions, learning to thrive as kids in really, really rough conditions. However, the tools our bodies use in survival mode will not allow us to thrive later. So with chronic dysregulation, we can get stuck in hyperarousal or hypoarousal, meaning up in sympathetic activation for way longer than we should be, or down in hypoarousal, parasympathetic activation, being stuck in a restful collapse state for longer than we need. So that trigger happens and we kind of can't get out of that triggered state. This can show up as physical symptoms such as muscle tension, constant muscle contraction leading to stiffness, aches, pain, chronic pain conditions, autoimmune conditions, digestive issues. You know, I mentioned the rest and digest later. If you're not able to come back down, you're not really able to digest properly. So that can lead to stomach, constipation, diarrhea, abdominal discomfort, sleep issues, headaches, weakened immune system, tons and tons and tons. It can also lead to relational issues, outbursts of anger, social withdrawal, inability to calmly communicate with others. We think of like being triggered way outside our window of tolerance from a moment with a loved one where if we were still within our window of tolerance, we could have handled that. But because we have this chronic dysregulation, we're actually getting way more activated than we need to for the situation that is agitating us. Because of all of these symptoms, even a single traumatic experience can drastically shift the way we communicate with our body. And many of us learn as a survival response to block communication with our body or block that ability to have a healthy listening relationship with our body. We begin to lose trust in our body or get into habits of overriding our innate systems in order to cope with our reality. So it seems like it might be unlikely, but it's actually very prevalent for so many of us. Even if you think like, oh, I don't have trauma, like even simple things can cause this kind of disconnect with our bodies. Um, I do just want to mention also while we're there that all these lists of symptoms, it's really important, you know, to use some caution, like as we're moving through our self-exploration, that, you know, you're tending to everything that needs to be tended to. So healing communication with your body is huge and can bring healing to so much. I'm a survivor of all kinds of traumas and have autoimmune conditions. And because of using this modality on myself, I have been able to soothe so many symptoms that I was dealing with for many, many years. Um, and it is also important to tend to yourself medically as well. So don't ignore things that are going on and just like, well, my nervous system regulation that I learned will fix everything. Like make sure that you're approaching your full spectrum of symptoms with a full spectrum of care, if that makes sense. So, how do we regulate our nervous systems? You have probably heard nervous system regulation as a buzzword at some point, maybe on social media. Um, you might think, okay, nervous system regulation is all about meditation and just resting more and taking more naps and more self-care and more baths, maybe journal, maybe shake a little bit. These are all amazing techniques for sure. But what you may not know is that one of the best ways to heal your nervous system is to deliberately engage in small doses of activation with appropriate resourcing and support. That's what we're going to get into later with the practice I'll teach you. And this is what I provide to my one-on-one clients to take them much deeper than any breath work or solo practices could on their own. This is why the work we do inside Whole Body Communicator allows you to actually accelerate and deepen your nervous system healing process. The only way to actually regulate your nervous system is to restore a clear, healthy, listening relationship with your body. And the root of all nervous system healing is being able to listen to your body. The only way to do that is to actually spend time with your body. That's why the first phase of Full Body Communicator and the first thing we do in this video series and the first thing we do in my one-on-one program is to assess where your listening is at with your body and start there with somatic practices. So let's practice. You are invited to get comfy and try the somatic meditation. All you need is your body and your willingness to try. So I would invite you to find a space that's really relaxing. If you need to pause this video for a moment and get comfy, get some pillows, bolsters, blankets, whatever you need to really be able to fully settle in, go ahead and do that. Okay. So now that you're nice and comfy, take a moment to settle in. And first, I want you to take in your space. Use your eyes to connect with the space that you're in. Notice your environment. Notice what's here. And taking it a step further, notice what in your environment makes you feel supported right now. Is there any artwork, or is there a color in your space that when you look at it feels really good? As you take in your space, notice what's in your space that feels like a resource. Maybe it's the texture of something. We're doing this to set the scene so that you have something to support you if you become activated later in this meditation, so that you feel supported, you feel prepared. If at any time during this meditation you start to feel overwhelmed or you want to come out of it, then you have these placements in the room to come back to. Do you have one, two, maybe three placements, three resources? Notice how they make you feel. Is there an item that when you look at it, you can clock a softness in your belly, or something that makes you smile because it reminds you of a happy memory? Okay. Once you have those things, we're ready to continue. And everything I say is invitational. So if there's anything we move through that doesn't feel good, you can always come out of it, pause the video, tend to yourself, or come back to these resources in your space. Now, settle in even more deeply. Close your eyes. Begin to notice your breath. Notice where your breath enters, whether it's through your nose or through your mouth. Can you connect with the sensation of the coolness or warmth of it passing over your lips or your nostrils? Connect with how your breath moves you. Connect with the rise and fall of your belly. Notice the expansion of your ribs. And now let the breath guide you into listening even more deeply to the rest of your body. Begin scanning from the top of your head down and noticing what your body says. What physical sensations do you feel? And again, I want to be really specific. We're talking about physical sensations. Do you feel tension anywhere? What temperature do you feel? What parts of your body feel soft, relaxed? What other sensations might be present? Perhaps there's a tingling, a warmth, or a coolness, a little wiggle of energy. As you're scanning, moving down your body, notice if your body is wanting to tell you a narrative that leans more heavily one direction or the other on the pain spectrum, pain to comfort spectrum. If your body's first instinct as you're carving out this space to listen is to tell you about pain and discomfort, notice if you're able to resource those sensations with finding any place in your body that you feel comfort, pleasure, or even neutrality. If you feel stiffness, tension, where can you find in your body a space that feels relaxed? And when you do, notice if you can pendulate your attention back and forth between those two sensations. If you feel a strong sensation of pain, can you meet that by finding another place in your body that feels pleasant or neutral? And pendulate your attention back and forth between those sensations. You get to decide what pace of pendulation feels supportive for you. Maybe it's really fast, pew, pew, back and forth. Maybe it's slower, spending 5 breath cycles with the pain, and then moving for 5 breath cycles towards the pleasure spot. And the same goes for the opposite experience. If your body's first instinct was giving you information about an experience of pleasure, relaxation, can you invite your body to tell you about anything that might not feel good? As you pendulate, you can always return to connecting with your breath or to taking a moment to open your eyes and connect with your resources in your space if you need more support. We'll be here for about 5 more breath cycles, staying in this practice of noticing. Now, we're going to shift into a practice of deepening the sensation that you're playing with right now. So if you've noticed a spot of tension, I want you to actually lean further into the tension. Squeeze that muscle, tense it up even more, maybe holding your breath for just a moment, and then relax. And notice how deeply can you allow that tension to melt away? How deeply can you attune to relaxation, to comfort? We'll do that twice more. Notice a spot that had discomfort, pain, tension. And if it's okay, if it feels safe enough right now, we're going to intentionally lean into the activation, lean into the tension, hold it, squeeze it, and release. Allow it to relax even more deeply. Check in with your resource spot in your body, place that felt comfort or neutrality or pleasure. We'll do this once more. Check back in with your spot of discomfort, tension, pain, and we're going to squeeze it just enough, not trying to injure ourselves, but just enough to activate it even a little bit more. Squeeze it and release. Relaxing back into that relaxed state. Check in with the part of your body that feels pleasant or neutral. One last full breath cycle to close. Check back in with your breath. Notice the sensation of your breath moving. And when you're ready, open your eyes softly. Gaze around the room. You can check back in with any resources you found in the room before. Little glimmers, one of my teachers calls them. Glimmers are little things that bring us moments of pleasure, like happy triggers. Take back in your space. Maybe take a sip of water if you have some nearby. And let me know, how did it go? Your healing always starts with your curiosity, your willingness to try things. So I am really glad that you tried it out, and I really want to know how it goes. So you can email me at weepingwillowwellness1@gmail or DM me on Instagram. And I would also encourage you, this would be a great time to pause and journal about this practice, or pause and take it a step further. If you felt like you really wanted to stay there a bit longer, you are welcome to pause and go back in. We want to practice using the language of the body. So, one thing I notice sometimes with clients is I'll talk about, body sensations. Let's listen to the body. What are you feeling? And they'll go, "Oh, I'm feeling anger." And anger is not a physical sensation, it is an emotion. And it can certainly live in the body. We can certainly have physical expressions of anger, right? We think of like, my heart is racing, my muscles feel tense, my eyebrows are knitted together, I'm locking my jaw. These would be physical experiences that might show up when you're experiencing the emotion of anger. And I just want to note if some of that is what came through, some of your noticing was of emotions or of story, narrative. That is okay. That is so natural. That is oftentimes how we're taught to talk about our feelings. And we really, for the purposes of this exercise, want to drop into the language of the body. So, really physical sensations. So, you can always drop back in. You can repeat this practice as many times as you want. And you can also bring the pendulation practice out into your life, noticing how you play with your window of tolerance that way. So, we when we felt tension, we leaned into the tension. We created a little bit more tension to see how much activation we had space for, and then relaxed and practiced like having our nervous system move into sympathetic and parasympathetic. We moved into tension and relaxation, activation, arousal, and downgrading. So that's something you can play with as well, bringing that into different scenarios in your life. And that is it for this video. As one of my somatic cognitive behavioral therapy teachers always says, all roads lead you to the holistic path. So you are here, you are on your holistic path. This part of the course is all about learning about your body. And in the next two videos, we'll begin learning more about how to heal your communication with yourself and then how to heal your communication with others. So, whole body communicator is all about a holistic approach. That's why it's three-pronged. So, make sure you come back for the other two videos to get the full method. I cannot wait to see you there, and I hope that you enjoyed today's lesson. I will leave you with this Nietzsche quote. It is very much the foundation of my practice and how I live my life as a practitioner and an artist. So, there is more wisdom in your body than in your greatest philosophy. I just want to reiterate that for you. If any part of today's lecture caused you to go back up into your head and go, oh my gosh, I have so much to learn about trauma and my nervous system. And like, was I doing this right? Or was I, and you're going into your analytical mind, I would just encourage you to take a moment, take a breath, feel your breath in your body, and bring your attention back down into your feeling body, tracking sensations. There is so much wisdom there for you. And I would love to work with you or hear more about what your experience is. But just know that you have all that wisdom in your own body, and you hold the keys to your healing, and your body holds the keys to your healing. So you've got this. And I'm so excited for you to be learning more. Thanks for coming, and I'll see you in the next video.